Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to challenge a pretty fundamental belief about wealth. Instead of looking at how to get it, we're going to explore where it truly comes from, based on some really interesting teachings from Dayan Sangam about an internal science of prosperity. So let's dive right in with a question that I bet has crossed your mind more than once. Why is it that some people can work their fingers to the bone and have basically nothing to show for it, while for others, success just seems to flow to them, almost effortlessly? Is it really just luck, or is there something else going on here?
The usual answers we get are, work harder, it's a struggle, or you just got to get lucky. But what if that's only half the story? The teachings we're digging into today argue that a half-truth is actually the most dangerous kind of lie, because it sends us looking in completely the wrong direction.
Okay, so this is the huge shift in perspective we're talking about. On one side, you have the common belief system. You chase wealth, it's all external. On the other side, you have this inner science that says, nope, prosperity actually flows from within. The focus totally flips from just hard work to inner stability, and from relying on luck to awakening your own energy. So if it's all about this inner source of power, what is it? Where do we find it? Well, these teachings point to one very specific energy center, the Manipura chakra, which you might also know as the solar plexus chakra. And look, this isn't presented as some, floaty, abstract idea. It's viewed as a very real, tangible energy center right there near your navel. This is the core of your personal power, your self-esteem, your confidence, basically your entire foundation of stability. So think about it like this. When this energy center is dormant, kind of asleep, that's when you feel weak, you're full of doubt, and you're always looking outside for validation. And that state, the idea goes, actually attracts instability into your life. But when it's awakened, wow, it's a totally different story. You radiate this quiet power, you trust your own gut, and you naturally start to attract the very stability that allows prosperity to grow. All right, that's the big question, right? If we all have this inner fire, this potential for power, then what happened? Why is it dormant for so many of us? Well, the idea here is that this wasn't an accident. It was systematically extinguished. From our earliest days, we are basically conditioned to suppress this inner power. It starts in childhood, where we're told to be obedient, to fear things, and hey, don't want too much. Then you get to school, and comparison culture kicks in, planting that little seed of I'm not good enough. Society teaches us to live for everyone else's approval, always worried about what will people say. And even religion at times can instill a sense of guilt around the very act of wanting something more for yourself. It's like each step adds another lock on this inner door.
And all of that conditioning, it doesn't just go away. It creates these powerful internal enemies that are constantly sabotaging our energy and our stability.
And this really breaks it down, right? Look at that huge chunk. Fear. That's the biggest one. It's described as being like water on your inner fire. But then you've got these other troublemakers. Comparison, that feeling of not being enough, dependence on others, guilt about your own desires, and that constant need for approval.
And this internal state has very real external consequences. The teaching is emphatic on this point. Energy simply cannot stay where there is fear. A person living in fear might stumble upon some money, but they won't be able to hold on to it because their inner foundation is just too shaky. Okay, so that might sound a little bleak, but here's the good news. It is absolutely not a hopeless situation. This perspective doesn't just identify the problem, it gives us a really practical guide, simple formulas to awaken this dormant fire without any complicated rituals. First, just connect with your body. Feel your breath all the way down at your navel, not just up in your chest. That's what grounds your energy. Second, and this is huge, take full responsibility. The moment you stop blaming others, you reclaim your power. Third, start making your own decisions, even small ones, just to strengthen that muscle of inner authority. And finally, instead of fighting your fear, you shift your awareness to your navel. The idea is the energy of fear itself actually transforms into courage. And on top of those core practices, there are these other guiding principles. Things like honoring your body with joyful movement and laughter, noticing your anger instead of stuffing it down, because that suppressed energy is what burns out the chakra. And most of all, just approaching all of this with a sense of playfulness and trust in yourself.
So when you start to put these things into practice, it leads to the biggest paradigm shift of all. It completely changes how you understand wealth and prosperity.
This is where we get to that crucial shift in goals.
If you make wealth the target, you end up missing life. The real goal is to cultivate your own inner power and stability. And then, prosperity, well, it just becomes a natural byproduct, not the prize you were so desperately chasing.
An awakened Manipura chakra is described as a magnet. Just think about that for a second. A magnet doesn't run around trying to grab things. It creates a field that naturally draws things to it. When you are internally stable and powerful, things like cooperation, opportunities, and resources are just naturally drawn into your field. You don't chase, you attract.
So, what's the core takeaway from all of this? After everything we've talked about, it really comes down to a simple but profound shift in where you put your focus.
Ultimately, the message is this: stop searching for wealth outside of yourself. The real work is to find and awaken the fire that's already within you. The principle is that when your inner world is stable and powerful, your outer world naturally starts to rearrange itself to match. And that's presented as the fundamental rule. And so, we'll leave you with this question. Because according to these teachings, the journey doesn't begin with some huge, dramatic leap. It starts with one small, conscious decision that you make for yourself, reclaiming your power one choice at a time.